All right, my name is Nicholas.
My name is Stephanie.
And today we're going to talk about pivots. Or right now we're going to talk about pivots.
Same day.
It's the same day. Oh, we've done all these. I'm wearing the same clothes. So pivots are really cool.
One of our basic elements.
One of our basic elements. And so before we go further, that's the pivot. Right? We can do it on 1 foot. We can do it on 2 feet. There are moves that do it on 2 feet. So don't lock that into your brain quite yet. We do them in moves often. Can we just dance for a second? So we're moving a little bit.
Pivot.
Pivot.
Pivot. Pivot. Pivot. Pivot. Pivot. Pivot.
They're really important.
Pivot. Pivot. Pivot.
Now you're just showing.
No. But you let. I have no control.
I know. So
we use, there are multiple ways of doing technique behind pivots.
Yes.
Is that where you're going?
Yeah, there are multiple techniques, and we'll often blend them depending on the move or the music or the feeling or intention that we want to put behind it.
But one of the best ways I like to teach people to pivot is a way that makes you more independent as a follower. It's that what we call Tango magic, because I can do it whether my leader is, they're intending to lead a pivot, but they're not giving me anything. I can still pivot, which is great.
Yes. It also keeps leaders from over-leading pivots.
Yes.
One of the very standard ways of thinking about pivots that are taught, like if we just do like an ocho figure where they talk about you take your shoulders and torso and you rotate them to make your partner rotate. One of the things that is often confused with this, and for myself when I learned it as well, is that I'm taking my center away from my partner. It's now pointing here. And one of the rules of tango is that you always want to try to be heart to heart or keep your center pointing at your other person. There are very difficult positions like full return coaches where you can't actually do that, but generally you want to keep that idea of I'm taking my center towards them.
We're attempting.
Yeah. And so that never really jived with me because I'm like, well, I take my center away, so how is this like a quality pivot? And the teacher at the time was like, yeah, just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Shut up. Do it. What I learned later is that what they were talking about was, yeah, you lead here and then you can wrap back. Like, so I gave that intention in this direction and then I re-wrapped to my partner so I maintain that front. That's hard for me. And we all have found it also difficult to make it like a teaching thing, so we're starting with Tango magic.
Yes.
Which is also hard.
The way that you were talking, it feels like a rebound.
Yeah,
Which means you have to have a lot of control and ahead of time thinking about what you're going to be doing.
That's true.
But yeah, Tango magic is a little more fail-proof, I would say, once you understand the concept.
Yes, once you get it and you know what you're looking for, it is fail-proof. Oh, there's like I don't want to call it the beginner way, but there's like the real fail-proof way, which is where you think of your partner as like a plane, and then you take your partner and you just point them in the direction you want them to go, right? This is maybe like crash course level pivot. It's not super comfortable, but it does get the job done. Okay,
So
long preamble. Tango magic.
The way I like to teach it, can I tell the
For sure.
imaginary story? So, is to imagine that you're at Costco or Sam's or whatever, something where they have pallets for you to shop on. So one of the big pallets, you're going down the aisle and there's a small child right in front of you, so you can't run them over, no bonus points. You need to be able to just go around them without progressing forward. So you can't go this way, you can't go this way because that would progress, so you would still hit them. So how do you turn in place? And if you think about it for a second, put your hands here, imaginary cart. Eventually, people figure out you push and pull at the same time. So you go like this. That's how we're going to be leading our pivot without moving our arms. We're going to be giving energy like this without actually moving our shoulders or our bodies. So when we practice that with a partner, you're going to imagine that one of you is the cart and one of you is the driver. And you're going to push and pull, and the cart is going to allow that spiral to happen through the body. So I am resisting enough so that I don't just go with it. So if he gives me that and I just go with it, it doesn't work. I have to think of myself as a solid object across here, so that as he does the push and pull, I can move it through my body. I can take the energy and let it flow into my feet.
I am actually leading this. I'm actually leading the amount I would like my partner to pivot, and I'm leading the speed that I would like my partner to pivot.
Yes.
Yes.
That's being communicated through Tango Magic. It's not guessed. So he's going really slowly, faster. Yeah? What this means too is that you're switching between actually technically positive and negative, and you want that to be as seamless as possible. I can't put your hand between ours so you can feel it. We do that in our lessons. But if you were right here with us, you would feel how we go from negative. I'm going to show it with my body a little bit more. I go from negative straight to positive as fast as I can in our connection. And that means my pivots can go back and forth as needed, because eventually we're going to do little deeky-deeky-deeks and fun stuff like that. And this skill level needs to be as fast and efficient as possible.
The other ways that I've heard of this talked about is like internal disassociation or internal rotation or like an internal spiral. And I also think of this as like one of the catch-ups for me is one of the hang-ups. I am hungry. One of the hang-ups for me is that like if I think of it as like it's my arm joints that are doing this, I don't do it very well. But if I think of it that I'm leading through my hips or my torso, that I'm creating that spiral, or with my back, I'm creating it with my lat muscles, or if I'm creating it with my, or if I'm creating it with my front of my core muscles. But if I think of it as with my arms, then I get a little bit more push and pulley in a not great way.
So when you're practicing this with a partner, make sure that you're splitting your space evenly. So based on where we are, our hands are in the middle, both hands are in the middle. And if you have a mirror, you could watch in the mirror and make sure that this relationship didn't change. You didn't start to shift. Yeah, because this means that somebody moved.
Yes.
And we don't want that.
Leaders will sometimes overlead, and followers will sometimes underfollow.
Yes.
In that, like, don't follow. Like, I'll start with Tango Magic, and then she won't do anything. And so then I'm like, okay, well, then I gotta do a little bit, and then I can follow through and get it there. So it's reliant on both people to really listen and feel like, okay, I'm gonna do the thing and respond to it, rather than, hey, do the thing.
As I said though, if the leader is not really giving me great pivots, but I can feel that that's where they want me to go, I can use, that's why I suggest this hand tool. I can use this side as one of those signals, and this side. So even if I just have this, I'm able to pivot myself without impacting him very much at all. Right? I mean, you don't feel like I'm using your body. It just means I can still be in charge of my pivots.
Yeah.
And depending on how you're dancing, where you're dancing, who has taught you, you'll hear that the follower is responsible for half of the pivot, or like none of the pivot, or 75% of the pivot. So,
or that you always hit a certain angle of the pivot.
So you have to adapt as you're going forwards with different dancers and different communities. But I like that I can help, or I can chill out with this technique.
And I like that I can specify the amount of angle that I'm asking my partner to do, so I can set up the next move for what I'm looking for. But yeah, I could go on. We like what we do, I guess. That's what I'm going at.
Well, so, it is fun, because it feels like Tango Magic. If you've ever been cranked through pivots before, it can be pretty rough, and it gets into shoulders or just throws off your balance. Pivots are hard enough by themselves.
Yeah.
So if we have a technique that doesn't impact your balance, it's really awesome.
The other thing is, in terms of the aesthetics of tango, it makes it look a little bit more elegant. Generally, you're looking for very calm on top and the action being down here. So if we're doing like a figure like this, like you notice this side doesn't really do much. It doesn't look like anything is going on in our upper bodies. This stuff is happening below. But if I start to, sorry, here, underdo it.
Sorry.
So I start to,
Yes. Knocking me over.
if I start to add in a little bit more action, then it loses some of that,
Well, it just gets really big.
yeah.
And that balance was way harder for me. I literally fell over.
Well, we don't normally dance this. I was probably not doing it very well either.
But I've done it before. Anyway, the other reason that I like this is because it allows me to stay disassociated with my partner. If Nick, if we're here and he wants me to pivot, great. I can keep my body with him as much as I can. If he starts using his hand, boom, he forced my arm back, so now I'm facing this way. I can't spiral around him anymore because this arm came out in front. So there are lots of other figures where when we're trying to be tighter or do little rotationally things, the arm can really get in the way.
There are little asterisks. There are other styles that don't do this.
Yes.
We'll talk about that later. They are valid. We're not trying to put them down. We're just...
No. I mean, as I said before, it depends on the community.
Yes.
It depends on what the dancer is asking for.
The goal, the objective.
There are other professionals that I'll dance with that don't do this at all, but it's fine because they have another system.
Yes.
We already explained why we like this system, but it doesn't mean it's the only way.
Right. Cool. Boo.